Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ati Mataji, Niri Gopika Mataji, for leading the chanting this morning. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dhanvat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminati Namini. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Okay, after Archanam, sorry, after Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Swaranam, hopefully we do that when we are chanting. We chant, we hear attentively, and we remember the Lord. So that is Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Swaranam. We can also do Archanam if you would like to. And then now it's time for Vandanam, offering prayers. So we have been singing this beautiful prayer in this week of Nityananda Trayodasi by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, Sri Nityananda Ashtakam. Anybody would like to try singing today?
Prabhu, I can try. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Anandri Gopika Mataji. Yeah.
Okay. Saracha Chandra Prantam Spuradama. Sorry. How is it, Prabhu? Can you tell me the meter again?
Yeah, like Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagam. So, Sarat Chandra Bhrantim Spuradamana.
Suradakantim Gajagatim Haripremonmatam Dhritaparamasattvam Smitamukham Sada Gurnanetram Karakalitavitram Kalipidam Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajantarukandam Niravadi Rasanam Agaram Swajanaganasarva Swam Atulam तदीयैका प्राणा प्रमितवसुधा जानवापतिं सदा प्रेमोन्मादं परमविदितं मन्दमानसं भजे नित्यानन्दं भजनतरुकन्दं निरवधि शचीशूनुप्रेष्ठं निखिलजगदीष्टं सुखमयं कलौ माजज्जीवो धरणकरुणादमकरुणं हरेराख्यानादव भवजलधिकर्वोन्मतिहरं भजे नित्यानन्दं भजनतरुकन्दं निरवधि अये भ्रातानीनं कलिकलुषीनं किं नु भविता तथा प्रायश्चित्तं रचयद अनायासत इमे व्रजन्ति त्वम् इत्थं सह भागवत मन्त्रयति यो भजे नित्यानन्दं भजनतरुकन्दं निरवधि यथेष्टाम्रे भ्राता कुरु हरिहरिद्वानं मनिशं ततो वा संसाराम्बुदितरणदायो मयि लगेत् इदं बाहुस्वोते अटति रतयान्यः प्रतिगृहं भजे नित्यानन्दं भजनतरुकन्दं निरवधि बलात् संसाराम्भोनिधिहरणकुमुद्भवमहो सतां श्रेयसिन्धूनतिकुमुदबन्धुं समुदितं खलाश्रेणीस्फुर्जित् तिमिरहरसूर्यप्रभमहं भजे नित्यानन्दं भजनतरुकन्दं निरवधि नटन्तं गायन्तं हरि अनुवदन्तं पथि पथि व्रजन्तं पश्यन्तं स्वमपि न दयन्तं जनगणं प्रकुर्वन्तं सन्तं सकुर्नदृगन्तं प्रकलनात् भजे नित्यानन्दं भजनतरुकन्दं निरवधि सुबिभ्राणं भ्रातुकरससिजं कोमलरतं मिथो वक्त्रालोकोचलितप्रमन परमानन्दहृदयं ब्रह्मान्तं माधुर्ये अहमदयन्तं पुरजनान् भजे नित्यानन्दं भजन तरुकन्दं निरवधि रसानामाधारं रसिकवरसवैष्णवधनं रसागारं सारं पतितततितारं स्मरन्ता परं नित्यानन्दाष्टकमिदमपूर्वं पठति य तदाङ्घ्रिद्वन्द्वाब्जं स्फुरत नितरां तस्य हृदये हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे श्रीला वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय नित्यानंद धाम की जय Sorry, Prabhu. It's a little hard. I didn't know where to, in the long words, where to split it. You know, like you were doing like yesterday, I tried to pay attention, but it's still hard. Like Mitho, Vaktra, and then where do you split the Loko Chalita?
6 syllables, 6 and 11. So, okay. Like Jagannatha Swami, that is 6 syllables. And then Nayana Patagami Bhavatumi, that is 11 syllables. So it's 17 syllables meter. So you break
Okay.
at 6 syllables. Yeah. Mitho Vaktra Loko Chalita Paramananda Hridayam. Like that.
Got it. Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry, I messed it up.
Nahi. So it was very nice, very beautiful. Thank you so much for your service of singing. And that is the bhav again. We say again and again, it's the bhav. And that's all. That's all the Lord is looking for, right? He's not looking for perfection. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, anybody else would like to read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I can read.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead, Mataji. Yeah.
I perpetually worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, whose bright face mocks the full autumn moon, whose pure complexion glistens, whose gait is like that of a maddened elephant, who is always intoxicated in Krishna prema, who embodies pure spiritual energy, whose face holds a gentle smile, whose eyes are always rolling due to his absorption in Krishna prema, whose lotus hand holds a glowing staff, and who, by the performance of Nama Sankirtana, pierces the influence of Kali Yuga. I perpetually worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who is the mainstay of all the rasas, who is everything to his devotees, who is beyond compare, who is the master of both Vasudha and Janava Devi, who consider him more dear than their own lives, who is always maddened in Krishna prema, and who is unknown only to those of meager intelligence. I perpetually worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who is very dear to Sri Sachi Nandana, who is worshipped by the entire universe, who is the embodiment of happiness, who possesses infinite mercy for delivering the souls who are drowning in the age of Kali, and who, by the performance of Sri Harinam Sankirtan, thwarts the progressing false pride of the ocean of repeated birth and death. I perpetually worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who said to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, "Hey, brother Gauranga, what will be the destination of the sinful souls of Kali Yuga, and how will they be redeemed? Please devise a method by which they will easily attain you." I perpetually worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who wandered around Bengal, and approaching the door of each and every home, threw open his arms and exclaimed, "O brothers, all of you should eternally perform Sri Harinam Sankirtan together. By doing so, I will take the responsibility to deliver you all from the ocean of material existence." I eternally worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who is the Agastya Muni, who forcibly swallows the ocean of repeated birth and death, who is a rising full moon which increases the ocean of the saintly person's welfare, and who is a sun which dissipates the darkness of ignorance cast by the various classes of miscreants. I eternally worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the tree of Krishna Bhakti, who wandered on every path in Bengal, dancing, singing, and calling out, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, and who lovingly bestowed merciful sidelong glances upon those who were not compassionate to even their own selves. I eternally worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who held the supremely soft lotus hand of his brother Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, whose heart became filled with the highest bliss when the two brothers gazed into each other's faces, and who wandered here and there, delighting the townspeople with his sweetness. May Sri Nityananda Prabhu place his lotus feet in the heart of one who lovingly recites this unprecedented Nityananda Shtaka, which is the reservoir of rasa, the greatest treasure of the most exalted of Rasika Vaishnavas, and the storehouse of the essence of Bhakti Rasa. This Astaka is sung in the melody known as Sikharini. Hare Krishna, thank you for always being here, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Would you like to share any reflections from this prayer?
Just that Nityananda Prabhu is so merciful that he asked Chaitanya Prabhu, how is it that us souls in Kali Yuga, what can be done so that we can easily attain love of Godhead? That's how merciful and compassionate he is. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So he's like Arjuna, he's asking all the questions for us on behalf of us and giving us the love of Godhead. So yes, so that's like the spiritual, of course, Nityananda Prabhu is the Adi Guru. And yeah, wonderful. Yesterday we saw in Prabhupada Leelamrit, I was just reflecting how merciful, like you rightly said, these Prabhus are, and Prabhupada was talking about them, and it was just so wonderful, Prabhupada says, when he was answering those questions that, yes, spiritual master is the representative of God, and when we offer something to the spiritual master, it goes to God. And then somebody asks, are you conscious? Is the spiritual master conscious? He says that God is conscious, and through God, the spiritual master is conscious. So it's like so beautiful. So when we offer anything to the Lord with love, with bhakti, with bhav, then yes, we chant. When we chant, we start with the Guru Veer, right? We chant our Guru Pranam mantra. We chant the Panchatattva mantra, right? So that way we are kind of connecting to the whole Guru Parampara. And then when we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are connecting with the divine couple, requesting their service. And so it's like the same thing, you connect to the spiritual master, that way you connect to God. And then when you connect to God to the rest of 108 beats, and then again you come back to the Guru, right? So it's like a recursive loop. So the whole mercy, like their disciples were saying, when Prabhupada being there in Mexico City, they felt like the whole mercy was there. And Prabhupada felt the same when he came to Caracas, that the whole mercy is there because of these two Prabhus who have come. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, they have come to this remote corner of the world, as Prabhupada used to say when he came to Alachua, right? So like that. So our hearts are also like that remote corner of the world, some remote corner, and we have forgotten who we are. We are all seated there as the eternal Jivatma, and Paramatma is there. But Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with their mercy, have come to the remote corner of our hearts and giving us this pure love of Godhead, as they came yesterday in Caracas, which has also 2 C's, and our Cincinnati also has 2 C's. So anyway, so Prabhupada is in Caracas, and I was just meditating and reflecting that yesterday was my birthday, and our deities, Shri Nitai Gaur Sundar, also came on the same day, on 2 years ago. So that's how merciful they are, and that's how merciful our Guru Parampara is, and our Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada are, that they are coming all the way for us, and they are giving us this nectar. We just have to accept it by bowing down. Prabhupada said how to accept this is by fully surrendering to Krishna. So yesterday was a full kind of a holistic class. He told us how to surrender with Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. So by always remembering the Lord, so when we chant, we remember the Lord. When we offer prayers, we worship the Lord. We bow down before the Lord, right? So Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Mami Vashi Satyam Te Pratijani Priyosime. So with that, we will always be in remembrance of the Lord, and we can go back home. Yesterday, that was also a blessing Prabhupada gave to his disciples, that I wish that you chant these 16 rounds, follow the regulative principles, then you will remain steady in your devotional service, and you will become perfect. And I bless you that you all go back to Krishna. So everything was there, and Prabhupada is so merciful, just like Nityananda Prabhu. Okay, so with all that strength that he gave us yesterday, and to the devotees in Caracas who were also doing the same thing, Sankirtan, they're distributing the books, just like we are coming here together and we are reading these books. So we get all the strength from Srila Prabhupada. So let's continue and see what happens next. In Caracas, Srila Prabhupada took his morning walk in a nearby park, Park del Este, when he passed a relic of an old ship, the Colón, dating back to Christopher Columbus. Prabhupada asked to go on board. The boat tour had not yet opened, however, and they could only view the ship from a distance. A devotee picked lilies from the lake and gave them to Srila Prabhupada. From nature's study, Prabhupada said, we can see one tree is producing a particular type of fruit and flower. There is no revolution. It is standard. But these people, because they have no standard, they change every moment, every year. Nature's way is that the sun is rising from the eastern side, and that is the standard. Prabhupada chuckled. They will say, let the sun rise from the north. It is childish, simply childish. Eastern philosophers, Western philosophers, what are these different philosophies? Philosophy is philosophy. While walking, Prabhupada spoke of the wonders of Mount Sumeru, the celestial mountain of the demigods. On the top of the Sumeru hill, he said, there is a big tree, and the juice, after falling down, turns into a river of mango juice. And the blackberries, they are just like the bodies of elephants, but with small seeds. They also turn into rivers like the rivers of the jambu fruit. Both banks of the river, being moistened by this juice and dried by air and sunshine, it becomes gold. And that gold is used by the denizens of heaven for their ornaments, helmets, bracelets, and belts. But where is gold here? Just paper. They cannot make even gold coins. Everything is reducing to poverty. In our childhood, we have seen gold coins and silver coins. Now there is no such thing. Plastic and paper. As he walked, Prabhupada observed the beautiful park. Yes, he said, it is a nice garden. Devotees crowded near Prabhupada as he walked, sometimes too near, almost bumping him. Hridayananda Maharaj translated questions from the devotees. Hridayananda Maharaj, he wants to know the relation between the Vedic culture of India and the cultures that were originally in Latin America. There seems to be some similarity. Prabhupada, formerly the whole world was Vedic culture. They have deteriorated. In India only, a glimpse is still maintained. Prabhupada then told them how Lord Ramchandra had once come to Brazil, then the headquarters of Ravana's brother and a part of Ravana's kingdom. The demons had brought Ramchandra there to kill. They wanted him to lean his head over, and when he would do so, they were going to cut off his head. But Ramchandra told the demonic soldiers, I don't know what do you mean. You will have to show me. So they all bent their heads over and immediately cut off their heads. Prabhupada said this all happened in Brazil. Moving further into the park, Prabhupada suddenly heard the loud screeching of birds. Why they are angry, he asked. Shrutakirti replied, they are in a cage. Only birds? Asked Prabhupada. The local devotees replied that it was a whole zoo. Hridayananda Maharaj. He has a question that in Latin America there is much belief or superstition in a so-called lost city of Atlantis. It's very famous all over the Western world that there was a lost civilization called Atlantis that fell down into the ocean. Prabhupada simply replied, maybe. They approached a large pool recessed about 20 feet into the ground and surrounded by protective fencing. Inside lay two crocodiles. In this material world, Prabhupada remarked, the conditioned souls are always found in pairs. As Prabhupada and the devotees walked up to the rail, one crocodile opened his mouth very wide. Prabhupada remarked, don't you see? He's inviting. He's saying, just one of you come down here. Prabhupada laughed. He's inviting us for dinner. When a devotee asked if industry and technology could be used in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said yes, it could continue, but practically it had no real use. He gave the example that a man could sit on the ground just as easily as he could sit on a bench. But to make the bench, so much time had to be spent manufacturing. If the telephone and telegraph and television are used in propagating Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, then it is all right. But they are not doing that. We are utilizing the modern press facilities for printing Vedic scriptures, but they are utilizing the press for sex literature, bird philosophy. One devotee said that the world was beset with so many problems like overpopulation and food shortage, and he asked for the Krishna conscious solution to these problems. Produce food, said Prabhupada, but you are producing bolts and nuts, so try to eat them. You are producing motor tires and bolts, so eat them. When Hridayananda Maharaj translated this phrase, the Caracas devotees laughed heartily. To them, it seemed especially appropriate since they knew Caracas as a town polluted by the automobile industry. The energy is spoiled, Prabhupada said. Everyone is engaged in manufacturing motor parts. The devotees on the walk were particularly concerned with world problems, and they asked Prabhupada how a Krishna conscious devotee approached the problem of food shortage. Hridayananda Maharaj suggested, Prabhupada, the food relief program you started in India could also be used in other countries where there are economic problems. Prabhupada, why not? But prasadam, not ordinary food. From all our centers, you can distribute food prasadam because that prasadam means they will gradually become Krishna conscious. Otherwise, if you give them ordinary food, they will get strength and they will increase their sex desire. That's all. Someone asked, what would happen to the geographic features of the earth as the age of Kali advanced? And also, what would be the effect of taking oil and gold from the earth? Prabhupada, I think I have explained this. You have got a short duration of life, say 50 or 60 years. So instead of contemplating what will happen to this world, you chant Hare Krishna and go back to home, back to Godhead. Don't consider what will happen to this world. The nature will take care of it. You don't puzzle your brain with these thoughts. Use whatever time you have got in your possession and go back to home, back to Godhead. You cannot check it. So the best thing is to mold your life and go back to home, back to Godhead. Fly in your own machine instead of thinking what will happen. It will happen because the people will go on with their rascal civilization, and the natural consequences will be there. Better you take advantage of whatever time you have got and become fully Krishna conscious and go back to home. Each evening, a small group of intellectuals and seekers gathered to talk with Prabhupada. The first evening, a professor came. Prabhupada began saying that people are making a huge, frenzied endeavor just to secure money in the daytime and to have sex and sleep at night. The professor, speaking through Hridayananda Maharaj as translator, replied, I do not know that it is not the aim of life just to spend money on your family, go to bed and have sex. So I do know that is not the aim of life. But it is part of life, Srila Prabhupada. That I know also. Everyone knows. But beyond that, there must be some aim of life. Professor, but I think there should be some kind of humbleness. Prabhupada, no. Humbleness is of course a good qualification. But the humbleness you will find in animal also. He is also very humble. And if you cut his throat, he will not tell anyone. So humbleness, that is another thing. But what should be the aim of life? What is the actual aim of life? If you forget the aim of life and simply become humble like the ass, is that a very good qualification? The ass is very humble. You load upon it tons of clothes. It will not protest. Very humble. The professor objected to Prabhupada's conclusions. His opinion was that the transcendental search should not be undertaken so wholeheartedly. He felt Prabhupada was putting himself forward egotistically as a perfect person and making claims on blind faith. Srila Prabhupada answered all these objections with reason, argument, and Shastric evidence. But whatever Srila Prabhupada advocated, the professor disliked. And whatever Prabhupada disliked, the professor would endorse. Hridayananda Maharaj. He asked if we are content just to purify ourselves or if we also want to help the society. Prabhupada, no, you do not know what is the self. So how will you purify? You do not know what is the self. Can you say what is the self? Hridayananda Maharaj. He says it is possible that he could spend his whole life trying to find himself, and at the end of life he might not find himself. But in the meanwhile, he will not have helped society. Prabhupada, not only in one life you will not know yourself, but millions of lifetimes you will not be able to know unless you change your policy. Although it seemed futile, Prabhupada continued to offer the man spiritual life, defeating his speculative notions and giving him sound arguments for the necessity of self-realization. Prabhupada's disciples had presented the professor for an evening of discourse, and so Srila Prabhupada gave the professor what he gave everyone, the opportunity to hear about the absolute truth from a pure devotee. Prabhupada had done the same thing in New York City, in San Francisco, in Calcutta, in Bombay, in Africa, in London, wherever he went and to whomever he met. The professor in Caracas was particularly stubborn, but Prabhupada was tolerant, answering each argument until the talk grew quite lengthy. Give him prasadam, Prabhupada finally said. The professor departed smiling. It was a great pleasure. Another night, the leaders of the Metaphysical Society of Caracas came. From my point of view, the leader said, "You are repeating this Hare Krishna mantra over and over again, somewhat like hypnotism. For example, in some tribal rituals, they chant different things. Prabhupada, that is your opinion, but you are not an authority." Srila Prabhupada quoted from Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that chanting the Lord's name is the activity of the Mahatmas or the great souls. In the Western Hemisphere, the man said, the supreme authority is Saint Germain. And he says we should chant, "I am." That is a quote from the Bible. Apparently, when they asked God who he is, God said, "I am that I am." Prabhupada replied that "I am" is not itself the name of God. Moreover, no one can claim to be God also simply by saying "I am." Prabhupada, when God says "I am" and I say "I am," there is a difference. I am, particle I am, and he is whole I am. A multimillionaire says "I am" and his servant says "I am." But what are they saying? For the soul, it is all right to say "I am." But there is a difference between the particle and the whole. This is to be understood. When God says "I am," that means I am the whole. And when I say "I am," that means I am the particle. Therefore, we should understand and this that when I say "I am" and when God says "I am," they are different. The Metaphysical Society leader persisted. "When I say "I am," the man replied, "I don't mean in the sense of the lower self, but in the higher self. I understand that the essence of everyone is the same." Prabhupada, that we admitted. God is spirit and I am spirit, both of them I. But God's power and your power are not equal. In the Bible, God said, "Let there be creation," and there was creation. But if you say, "Let there be chapati," well, there will be no chapati unless you work. You have to work for it. The members of the Metaphysical Society couldn't accept the worshipable chanting of the names of Krishna. I always understood from Indian philosophy, the leader said that you cannot give God a name because that would be limiting him. Prabhupada, no, we don't give God a name, but God is named by his actions, just like Krishna. Krishna means all attractive. That is the quality of God, that he is all attractive. Similarly, Allah means the great. So God is great, therefore he is called Allah. So actually, God has no name. According to his actions, he has names. Another night, the psychiatrists came. They also disagreed with Prabhupada. They thought he was claiming too much and criticizing too much. Prabhupada explained, mental disease is there basically because he's thinking he's the body. He gave the example of the driver and the car. If a man identifies with the damage done to his car, then that is a mental disease. The man is actually different from his car, but he thinks that he has become damaged by the damage of the car. So if the psychiatrist informs him, "Why are you sorry? You are not the car," then the man is cured. So the defect of modern civilization is that he is not this body, but he does not know it. The psychiatrist objected, arguing that even if a doctor was looking for God, that did not mean he should stop trying to cure his patient's physical ailments with psychiatry. Okay, let's pause here. We'll continue with Srila Prabhupada's answers tomorrow. Okay. Yes, so wonderful. So Prabhupada again is, like we said, everywhere, wherever he travel, perfect, because the Lord is perfect. Pure devotee of the Lord is also perfect. And the message of the pure devotee is also perfect. And wherever he goes, it is perfection. And he's just on this mission to make everybody's life perfect. And he's telling them it's a simple and most easy thing to follow. You don't even need any education. Right? Simply you have to chant. And he says, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Yajnanam Japayagyosmi. So yes, of all the sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names. Yes, and that was my gift yesterday from my little Harshika. She gave me a painting which exactly had that, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and she said the shloka Yajnanam Japayagyosmi of all the sacrifices, I'm the chanting of the holy name. So that is the message of Srila Prabhupada to everybody. And, you see again, but how tolerant he is, trying to answer, not just because they think that it's blind faith, but he's teaching in terms of proper logic, argument, and on Shastric evidence. But still some people will remain stubborn, right? Like that professor was. So, but ultimately Prabhupada said, give him prasadam. So at least, if they're not able to understand the philosophy, we give them prasadam, right? At least with that, they will be purified. That's the message of Prabhupada saying that don't just give them ordinary food, but give them prasadam, because with that, gradually, slowly, at least their consciousness will be cleansed and purified. So that should be our mood also when we when we talk to somebody, we tell them about the simple process that brings us most joy, chanting the holy names, and don't have to go too much into philosophy. Just share with them chanting and talk about, and if they're not willing, at least offer them some prasadam. So that should be an easy way to help people, because otherwise it may take them lifetime after lifetime. And Prabhupada says, first again, we have to become perfect. We have not perfect, but at least we have to make the attempt to progress on the path of perfection, on the path of purity. And when we make that attempt sincerely, then the potency is there where we can also share whatever we have. At least to that level we can share with others. But otherwise it may take, like Prabhupada is saying, it may take not just one lifetime, it may take millions of lifetimes for people. The other day I was listening to one lecture, and Maharaj was saying that, somebody was saying that I've been practicing for 27 years, and still feel, I don't have any realization. And he said, you can go on practicing for 27 million years also, and still you may not have that. Or you can practice for just 27, days, or 27 seconds, and you may have realization. So it is really up to us, how sincere and how serious we are. Right? So that is like, we sincerely cry. Like we give the example, as a child, when a child is happily enjoying in the world, like with the toys, then mother was busy in the kitchen, she'll say, okay, my child is just playing, let him play, right? But when the child cries, then mother will see, oh, he's crying. First, she will send, some family members, either the sister or the brother, or some family, some aunt, to see, or go check, please check, why is he crying, right? And if he gets quiet again, then she'll say, okay, everything is all good, right? But if he keeps crying and crying and crying, ultimately the mother has to come, and the mother will lift him up in the arms and hug him, and then the child will stop, right? So like that. So Krishna, Radha Krishna are also testing us. Like we have, like Prabhupada was giving the example yesterday, we have forgotten our father, the father of a rich child. He doesn't need to do anything, just has to stay in the shelter of the father. But we want to enjoy, and we have come here, and we have forgotten our father, and now we are crying. But as soon as we get some relief from that distress, we become happy. Oh yes, now everything is fine, right? There's no distress. And then we get quiet. We get some money. We get some some power, some position, some name, fame, and that we are happy. Some car, property, like Prabhupada is giving this automobile industry here in Caracas, right? So some nuts and bolts, we are happy. And then of course, then Radha Krishna also seeing this, and okay, he's happy, let him enjoy there, right? But if we really are sincere and serious, crying and crying and crying, continuing crying, then of course, he's so merciful as Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that they will listen our cry, and they will come and lift us up from this terrible place of material world. So that should be our mood, to cry for Krishna. And like one devotee said, one devotee was saying to as soon as Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj, a disciple, saying, Maharaj, I don't know how to cry. Maharaj is saying, you have to cry for Krishna. He says, I don't know how to cry. And Maharaj says, don't worry, you keep chanting. One day, when I'm gone, you will learn how to cry. So, when our spiritual master passes away, we learn how to cry for Krishna. But we can learn crying for Krishna anytime if we are sincere and serious. Just have to have that mood of complete surrender. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything? Any reflections, thoughts, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna everyone. To the last point you said, if we don't know how to cry, I was remembering, then we should cry that I'm not able to cry. Just develop that I'm not sincere enough that I cannot even cry for you, Krishna, and then we just cry for that. Yeah. Also from today's reading, I like the point when Prabhupada said you don't have to worry about what's going to happen to this material world, what's going to happen, it's degrading and everything. You just focus on yourself. I, at times, think in my mind, oh my God, what is happening, this and that. But then, this was like a direct answer from Prabhupada, that you don't think about what's going to happen in future, but then, worry about that opportunity you got. So you take care of yourself and your progress. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Anybody else would like to say anything? Nalin Prabhu always has something to ask or say. Okay, I'm very busy. All right. If there are no other comments, then we'll pause here for today. Thank you so much for all of your kind association as always in this morning japa and morning japa walk with Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnavrind ki jai Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit ki last chapter ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Hari Krishna
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.